Bring our meeting to order. It's 7:32, November 16th, 2010. We'll begin our meeting with the salute to the flag, please.
This is the Falls Township Governmental Access Channel 22 on Comcast 40 on Verizon. You're about to view the Falls Township Board of Supervisor meeting for November 16th, 2010. This program was pre-recorded for playback at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Pullen, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Zupka?
Here.
Mrs. Wisniewski? Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dent?
Here.
Mr. Snipes?
Here.
All right, thank you. We have a good crowd tonight. We have going to start off with a very, very positive thing. Actually, a very positive agenda. But we're going to start off with a very positive thing by recognizing two of our employees here in the township for an act of heroism, I guess, this summer, which saved the life of a young boy. Mr. Gray, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to ask Bill Reese to come to the podium to recognize two individuals who were responsible for saving a child's life at the Pinewood Pool this past summer.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. Very happy to be here tonight. We're going to be recognizing two people tonight. Tim Bay, our pool manager down Pinewood Pool, and Mark Dalton, who's one of our park security staff, as well as the fire police, the firemen, and all that good stuff. First, we'll start with Tim Bay. Tim Bay, of course, saved the life of a 10-year-old boy down Pinewood Pool. On Sunday, June 27th, 2010, Tim Bay saved a 10-year-old boy from drowning. After the lifeguard on duty down at Pinewood Pool pulled the boy out of the pool, Tim Bay, pool manager of Pinewood Pool, did a quick assessment of the child and then proceeded to perform rescue training on the child until he started to breathe. The child was then transported by the emergency rescue team, who got there very, very quick as well, and was transported to Lower Bucks Hospital and then was later released that evening. And I have to say that my park security staff, the police department, and the emergency rescue staff responded just within minutes. They were there like very, very quick. So at this time, I want to present a certificate of appreciation for Tim Bay. Tim, if you could come up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tim doesn't talk a whole lot, but he's a heck of a pool manager. He's a good guy. Our second hero is Mark Dalton. Mark saved the life of an adult male on Sunday, June 13th, 2010. Mark Dalton saved the life of an adult man off of Wheat Chief Road right outside the Township Community Park. Mark found the man laying on the ground unconscious, not breathing, but he had a weak pulse. He then proceeded to perform rescue training on him until the man began to breathe on his own. The emergency rescue team then arrived and basically transported the gentleman over to Area Hospital for testing and other observations, and I understand he left the hospital as well. And I have to say, again, our park security staff, our police department, and the emergency rescue staff, again, responded immediately and did a fantastic job. I have to say, before I have Mark come up, I have to say that the people of Falls Township are very fortunate to have such professional, dedicated, and very knowledgeable police departments, emergency rescue staff, our Pinewood Pool staff, and park security staff to handle these types of emergency situations. And also, I'd just like to let everybody know our park security staff, which is Rod Nisley, Dan Rivera, Dee Lynch, Mike Yotsko, Doug Miller, Butch Barter, Ralph Connor, and of course Mark Dalton. These people, as well as the police department and the rescue squads, they do receive yearly training of CPR, AED, and basic first aid every year. So they're called upon to handle these emergency situations. They do a really great job. And at this time, I'd like to have Mark Dalton come forward to receive his accommodation. Mark. If any of the board would like to come down and have a picture, we're going to have a picture take of both of them, or you want to say a few words?
No, I think that's excellent. I think you covered it very well. I appreciate your time in this, and obviously the board is thrilled to have people like this working for Falls Township, and we do this usually with the police department at times when there's acts of bravery, usually once a year. But it's, we certainly doesn't hurt to recognize those people who do good things and make this a great township. And these two gentlemen obviously do that to us. So, thank you. Yeah.
Come on up, guys.
Yeah. Getting there.
I'll stay here. Thanks, guys.
All right. Again, a great way to start off the meeting. And we thank again Mr. Gray as well as Mr. Reese for putting all that together for us. So, and I see Ms. Russo here as well. I'm sure you had a hand in this a little bit more than taking pictures. So, thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to the first item on our agenda, which is a certificate of appropriateness for 21 Yardley Avenue, replacing cedar roof shingles. Mr. Gray?
Yes, as mentioned, this is a certificate of appropriateness, 21 Yardley Avenue in Fallsington. The project does include replacement of his existing cedar shingles with new cedar shingles. This has been approved by the HARB Board at its meeting of November 4th. The owner of the proposed property is Matt Pendle. At this time, the board is asked to consider approving this certificate of appropriateness.
Okay. And I think we had actually samples of the new cedar shingles that were in the back. If any board members want to see them, I took a look at them a little bit. And obviously, it's, cedar shingles are cedar shingles. But any comments or questions from board members? I mean, the photos we have here make it pretty obvious that they definitely need to be replaced. Mr. Zupka?
No, I have none.
Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman, I know the person I believe is contracted to do the work is Jeff Dufresne. I know that we work with this person, and he comes highly recommended.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No, no questions.
I don't have any either. Is there any public comment needed? I see no hands. Okay, then, is there a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for 21 Yardley Avenue for a new roof?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, item number 2 is consider proposed 2011 budget and authorize advertisement. At our last meeting, there was a presentation by Mrs. Rukoff, our finance director, who is here again this evening, as well as by Mr. Gray, who both of them went over the budget pretty thoroughly with us in terms of the highlights. Of course, probably the most important highlight for people was that there's no tax increase in Falls Township. And while still budgeting money for, I believe it's $4 million for road program. Is that right?
4.4.
$4.4 million for road program, as well as some money for a senior center, and money as well for a new baseball field that we're going to be looking to build. And there's something I'm missing. There's something of the big thing I'm missing. I can't think of what it is.
Generator?
That wasn't the big thing I was thinking of,
Oh.
but generator, yes, certainly we can. The playground, that's what it was. Yes,
Handicap
thank you, Mr. Reese. There was a new playground going in down at the community park that will be accessible to handicapped children. And so that's another thing that will be another highlight of the budget. At the time, the board did not approve the authorization to advertise the budget, and all that does really is put the budget out for the public to see. And then there's roughly a 30-day period for the public to view it. 20 days in terms of legal, but by the time we hear this again, it'll be roughly 30 days. We'll come back to it at our second meeting in December, and we will approve or not approve the budget, but normally we approve it. And obviously between now and then, people can have a chance to look at it. They can raise questions at our next meeting, which is December 7th, and then we can make any kind of changes that we feel need to be made. But first, we actually just have to advertise. We have to put it out there. Mr. Gray, let us know again, where exactly will people be able to see this budget, the actual document itself?
This will be located here at the Falls Township Municipal Building. It'll be online on our website. And I believe we're also going to have it at the library at 5 Points.
All right.
See if we can put it there.
Okay, the Levittown Library. Normally it is at the Falsington Library, but the Falsington Library is undergoing renovations, and so it's not open. And so if you do want to actually view the budget, see the budget, go through it line by line if you want to, you can do that here. You can do it at the Levittown Library by 5 Points, and you can do it online, so from the comfort of your own home. Questions or comments regarding the budget? If not, then I'll accept, if there aren't any, I'll accept a motion to authorize advertisement. Mr. Zupka?
Well, I'm going to be talking a little slow tonight, but there were items where I wanted to see it allocated differently, but as you said, our time for that will come up at the second meeting when we actually go to make any adjustments or to finalize and approve the budget, and this is strictly for advertisement only, so
Okay.
continue on.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at our last meeting, we had an interesting conversation regarding the possibility of putting some money towards sidewalks in the township, in the budget. And there was a gentleman here, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name, who was, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Burke, I'm sorry, who was talking about that. And in conversation with you and with others on the board, I think that the budget can probably remain as it is, with the understanding that if we want to undertake some simple engineering studies for the areas that Mr. Burke was talking about or others, that we have money, we have ways to access that money in the budget as it's presented. Because we don't have a plan, I think it'd be difficult to say, okay, we're going to add this specific section of sidewalk in because we haven't done any studies of that yet. So I feel comfortable looking at the budget, putting it out for advertisement now, knowing that we can discuss this further, and even if we don't make a concrete decision for X amount of sidewalk and X location, we can find the money for engineering studies at the beginning of next year. Is that correct? Is that your understanding?
Yeah, I believe that's accurate. I had conversations with Mr. Gray along those lines, as well as with Mr. Clark in terms of the legal aspects of that, and I think that's accurate. If we need to do some, like you said, do some studies, figure out what we want to do. There's money in here already for engineering that we can allocate for that. And I think you said it very correctly. We don't have right now the kind of plan that we would need to have to say we're putting aside this much money for this length of sidewalk. It's going to be this wide. It's going to go from here to there. We don't have that yet, and so we really can't sort of throw a random number out there and say, well, we're going to do this.
But I want to thank Mr. Burke for raising it last meeting and for kind of spurring us in the direction of doing this work next year.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just want to paraphrase very basic terms. We approve the budget as it is, hopefully, for the end of the year. We go to do this other projects with bike paths or sidewalks in other parts of the area. We would move monies that were set aside for possibly other sidewalk projects to that and not actually increase the budget. We're just moving it from one column to another.
Yes.
And just very, very basically so everybody understands.
Yes, thank you. That's a good clarification. Thank you. I think that's a good way of putting it. Mr. Dents?
No, I've discussed the budget at length with Mr. Gray privately several times, and I'm fine the way it is.
Okay. All right, then. Again, this is authorizing advertisement only. We're not accepting the budget tonight. I don't know if there's any public comment needed at this point. I see one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Burke?
Jim Burke of Falls Township. Thank you, Mr. Snipes, for remembering what I brought up. And I just want to emphasize that my point was I'm not really, Mrs. Vizlowski, I appreciate her support, but she was going far beyond what I was actually asking for. I'm not asking for extensive bike paths and that. The whole idea from my point of view is that the infrastructure in the township has holes in it. The way the township has developed, each piece of property has been developed independently and not with a comprehensive plan to link things together. And when a property is developed, they build the road, you wouldn't leave 20 feet of road missing, but there's no thought about, okay, making sure that sidewalks are all connected to something, that bicycle access is available, things like that. And the idea is to just fill in these holes. And the examples I gave, such as on Mayfield Road by Gaslight Village, you have one section of sidewalk. You have a sidewalk from Woolston all the way past Hedgerow to Lower Makefield Township, but this one section is missing. It's been missing ever since Gaslight Village was built. How about finally putting it in there? And the Woolston Tunnel, there's a sidewalk that's already in there. That'd be the expensive thing. There's no sidewalk, but it's just the access on either side. You have a piece of infrastructure there, but it's hardly useful because it's not safe to get to either side. And also recently, since I was on Trenton Road, where Trenton Road intersects with Tyburn, there's 2 no pedestrian crossing signs there. I mean, what's it take to put a pedestrian crossing sign across Tyburn Road at Trenton Road so people can access Fallsington, the library, or the Friends Meeting House, whatever. I mean, just to maximize the potential of what we already have. For cars, obviously people can drive anywhere they want, but with just the spending of some more money, and I know it takes planning and whatnot, it's not going to happen right away, you can link these pieces up. And another thing that annoys me personally is the post office. The post office is probably the most heavily used government building in this township, has no pedestrian access unless you go in Penn's Grant through the back, up through the employee parking lot, up a hill that has no sidewalk. And across the street you have Penn's Place, which is a newer development. There you have a nice length of sidewalk, but it basically goes nowhere. It doesn't go past the gas station to where the old Clover Center is, and going the other way to Morrisville Borough, not only the sidewalk ends, the shoulder of the road ends. There's not a shoulder of the road there anymore. And West Trenton Avenue is probably a perfect example of a complete hodgepodge of no sidewalk, sidewalk, shoulder, no shoulder, and there should be some sort of normalization or rationalization of things like that. And so even if it's just money next year to just look at planning to do these things, that's all I'm looking for.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Well stated. Appreciate your input. All right. See another hand in the back, Mr. Kinney.
Roland Kenny, Falls Township. I grew up in Philly. Around 26 years I spent down in Philly. And when I got my license when I was 16, you come up to the Lincoln Drive-In, which is a hotel and Wawa down right above Byberry. Once you hit there, everything else from north up to the river was considered country. And when we drove up here, we loved it because it was a country atmosphere. It had no sidewalks. People walk in the street. They didn't get bumped off. They walked on the sidewalks. They drove their bikes and everything. I think it's ludicrous to change this country setting into a city. If you want sidewalks, go live in the city. They got plenty of sidewalks. You can walk all day long. But up here, I'm the president of Admiral. We have sidewalks in there. We have 60 to 100-year-old people in there. Nobody walks on the sidewalk. They walk in the street. Then I got possessed. We have a sidewalk outside our pavilion. My buddy back there, he come out of there the other day, made a left-hand turn. There's a guy standing in the street. Sidewalks right next to him. Almost run into the guy. They just don't use sidewalks. You're in the country. Leave us country. You want the city? Go in the city and get it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay. Anyone else? Public comment? Ms. Hagan?
My name is Pat Hagan. I'm the treasurer of the Falls Township Senior Center. And our board of directors, some of whom are here tonight, asked me to come and apologize to the people of Falls Township. especially those watching TV tonight, we want you to know that we have, because of some of the comments we've heard about the senior center, we think we have obviously just done a lousy job of telling our neighbors who we are and what we do. So I want to just take a minute tonight and tell you what your senior center does. While it's true that we are a nonprofit, private organization, our mandate really comes from a federal law, the Older Americans Act. That act provides some funds to the states to provide services for older people. The states then add a little lottery money, ours does anyway, and passes it down through the county. And eventually the county, in our case the Bucks County Area on Aging, contracts with organizations like ours to provide certain services. So I don't have 2010 figures. All I could find was 2000 figures, but my understanding from the Bucks County Area on Aging, about 20% of the population in this area is going to be people over 60 years old that we can provide some services for. So here's what we do. Number one, we are the designated focal point for disseminating information for older people. Whether that people want to know about health or taxes or insurance or transportation or shots, it's our job to be that focal point to provide that information. We do it at the center. People walk in and call. We do a newsletter. We do programs, all kinds of different ways, but that's our number one job, is to see that people, older people, get the information they need. Secondly, we help older people get proper nutrition. We have meals in the center every day. We also run the Meals on Wheels program, so volunteers from our center take meals to people who can't get to the center. And we are now a distribution center for an organization that brings a large box of food every month to low-income seniors. That goes through our center. We also are charged with providing opportunities for older people to be as physically fit as long as they possibly can. We do that in lots of different ways too. We have 5 different exercise programs now that we do. We provide programs like Healthy Steps that teaches older people how to make their homes safe so they don't fall. We have, of course, flu shots. We have blood pressure monitoring, all kinds of things in that area. We are not an amusement park for older people, as someone here suggested one night, but we do provide opportunities to expand seniors' minds and to keep seniors as socially active as possible. Certainly, older people tend to get isolated at times, and that brings on social and emotional and mental disability, so that not only the seniors are hurt, but that hurts our community as well. There really isn't time to name all of the activities at the center, and I know some of my friends will be unhappy if I don't name their pet project. But I want you to know that your senior center is growing. It is thriving. We have doubled our paid membership in the last 6 months and tripled the number of people who are participating in activities at the center. We are using every square inch of the senior center that we have now in our 30-year-old building. We really only have 2 rooms besides the main dining hall, and one of them we teach computer classes around the edge of a room that's designed for something else. The other room we have to alternate between meetings and programs and craft activities. We have really spent a lot of time trying to figure out exactly what kind of space and how much space we need in addition to the 30-year-old building that we're living with now. And we have only asked the township for exactly what we need, not another inch. So I just want to say I would love for any of you to come visit the center. We'd love to talk to you and show you how well we're using the little bit of space we have, and how we hope to have additional space and what we would do with that space. And while you're there, you can come and help us make memory books for Alzheimer's patients or knit hats for the people in the homeless shelter. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, other comments or questions about the budget? Mr. Mariani?
Just a quick comment. The more we turn over to our government the responsibility to care for our older people, our needy people, and so forth, the more we lose our democracy. That's our responsibility, not the responsibility of government. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the budget? No? If see no hands, motion to close public comment?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, then. We're looking, again, just to authorize advertisement of the 2011 budget. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to advertise for the 2011 budget.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, item 3 is to consider awarding bids from auction of surplus equipment. The township several weeks ago put some of its surplus equipment up for auction. Mr. Gray has the results, I believe.
Yes, thank you. Sealed bids were publicly opened and reviewed on Wednesday, November 10th for 4 township vehicles, a tire machine, and a boat, including a trailer and motor available as surplus equipment. Highest bids were as follows: a 1997 Jeep from Joseph Hearn for $100, a 1996 Ford Bronco, also Joseph Hearn, highest bidder, $100, a 2000 Ford Taurus, highest bidder Michael Carr, $350, 2004 Ford Crown Victoria, highest bidder Joseph Hearn, $50, a tire machine, also highest bidder Joseph Hearn, $100, and the boat motor trailer, highest bidder Paul Lobecker, $850. At this time, the board is asked to consider approving the sale of these items.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
No, I have none.
No? Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman. I would ask other board members if you feel that these, what we're receiving is appropriate.
I think I spoke, can I speak? To Mr. Gray before the auction, and I mean, he looked at the details. The Cherokee didn't run at all. It needed a new motor. The Bronco had issues as well. The Taurus didn't have a transmission. The Crown Victoria, it wasn't much even of a car. It's been picked apart for other police cars. So if you saw the vehicles before the auction, there wasn't much. I mean, on
Much
paper,
left.
it sounds like something of value, but when you looked at them and the issues they had, there wasn't a lot there.
Thank
The
you for
boat
that
was one
clarification.
thing that received a good bid and was probably worth the most. But most of the vehicles were not much of a vehicle left.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Any public comment needed? See one hand or motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm just wondering, the vehicles, if the weight of the vehicles are known, the current price of scrap steel, a whole complete vehicle is worth at least $200 to a scrap dealer.
Miss, we talked a little bit about this before, and we don't know the exact figures, but basically, that was an issue that was brought up. Why don't we just sell these for scrap? And it wasn't really clear that they would get as much. Maybe as it's not even a whole vehicle, like Mr.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, it doesn't have an
what the
engine,
weight
doesn't have a
is, because
transmission.
even 1,000 pounds will get you $80 at a scrap dealer.
Yeah.
2,000 pounds will get you $160 at a scrap dealer.
That's something we've sold vehicles like this before, and we've never, in most cases they're pretty much in bad shape. Any vehicle.
Yeah, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I mean, dead weight steel is worth at least 8 cents a pound at a scrap dealer. That's why I'm just wondering what they weigh. Somebody's going to buy,
I don't know.
$200 worth of steel for $100. They're stealing it.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? No? Okay. Motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, then. We're looking for, I guess, then, is a motion to approve the sale of these items for the prices indicated on the November 12th memo from Mr. Gray.
So moved.
Okay. Motion made. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen, can you pull the board, please?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, fourth item on our agenda is consider purchase of a school board for Levittown American Little League. The scoreboard was damaged earlier this year, I believe, and there's been some money coming in from insurance. to cover a lot of this cost, Mr. Gray, you've put together some numbers here with the help, I believe, of Mr. Funk from Levittown American.
Yes, earlier this year, a storm did damage the scoreboard located at the Levittown American baseball fields. The insurance company did provide the township with money to pay for a purchase of a new scoreboard. In addition, the insurance company will also pay for additional funding once the installation takes place. 3 quotes were secured for the scoreboard and installation. They are as follows: Impact Promotions, $8,737.43. Toro Marketing, $7,208. And Sinorama, $6,543.75. The board is asked to consider Sinorama for the purchase and installation of a new scoreboard at Levittown American. In addition, Ralph Funk from Levittown American is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. All right, I see some Levittown American guys in the back. Don't know if board members have any questions. It's relatively straightforward. But Mr. Zupka, comments or questions for Mr. Gray or Mr. Funk?
Yeah, I would like to ask, which of these signs, that we have the estimates for, will basically replicate what you had there before?
Every quote is, I think, for the same exact sign. Is that correct? I'm almost positive.
Yes. Okay.
And Sinorama was the cheapest, and they're also a local company.
Okay, so it's okay. So they're all. That's what I want to find out. If they were all the same, and
yeah, and it's basically the
it's
same
going to give
kind
you
of
the same.
scoreboard that came down. It's just the one that fell down was probably 20 years old, and of course this is a newer scoreboard.
Okay, so it's going to give you the same thing, the same type of service that you had before.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
None.
No, I don't have any either. Okay, so
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Funk. All right, any public comment needed? I see no hands. All right, is there a motion then to approve the purchase of a new sign for Levittown American in the amount of $6,543.75 from Sinorama?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zephyr?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, next item on our agenda is a conditional use hearing for Peruzzi Family Limited Partnership. This is not a land development per se, so slightly different. And I see Mr. Murphy is here representing Peruzzi. Mr. Clark will turn, well, actually we have to open the public hearing, don't we? All right. As soon as Mr. Clark gets his right file there.
We just need a motion to open.
All right, is there a motion to open the conditional use hearing for Peruzzi Family Limited Partnership?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a conditional use hearing. The applicant is Peruzzi Family Limited Partnership. The property is tax parcel number 13-004-059, located in the Township of Falls, Bucks County, Pennsylvania. This is an application requesting conditional use to modify the existing and prior uses from office, commercial, retail to automotive sales, display, and storage at the premises located on Lincoln Highway, US Route 1. The applicant this evening is represented by Edward Murphy, Esquire.
Good evening, thanks. One quick correction, I think. The parcel number is 134-95, not 13459. Which I thought you might have read, Mike. But
Yes, we have 13495 on the application.
It says 95. If I said 59.
Right. I think you did, but that's correct. Real quick, and it's not a complicated matter. I think the board and members of the audience are familiar with Fred's existing GMC franchise location on Route 1. That is an L-shaped piece of property. It surrounds on two sides this half-acre parcel, which heretofore has been used for various uses, including the skateboard building, which is the lovely purple building that's closest to Route 1. There is a smaller one-story, equally sized one-story commercial building behind that purple building. Peruzzi's purchased the building this summer, or purchased the property this summer. They presently have pending with the township a demolition permit, for which I'm sure you'll be eternally grateful, to remove the purple building. so that'll be taken out of the cycle. And Fred's intention with the use of the property would be to store vehicles on that property in the area where the purple building currently is located. You may be aware that a year or so ago, the GMC franchise was one slated for termination, and Fred was able to, through some significant effort on his part, save it. And now it's been resuscitated, and hopefully Fred is in the process of trying to revitalize that franchise. His ultimate goal would be to continue to use this property as part and parcel of the GMC franchise, which is immediately adjacent to it. At the Planning Commission meeting last month, a recommendation of approval was made subject to the requirement or recommendation that this particular half-acre parcel be merged into the existing GMC property. We've indicated at the Planning Commission and to staff that at this point Fred is not prepared to do that because he is uncertain at the moment what the, hopefully it will be a bright future, but at the present time we have no idea of knowing what the future of that GMC franchise is going to be. However, we have discussed with staff and agreed that to a condition that even though the property wouldn't be merged, we would agree that the property could not be used for a standalone used car lot, which was the Planning Commission real concern, that they didn't want to see a proliferation of smaller lots being used for used cars, which is fine with us. We have no intention of doing that. This lot would be used in concert with the GMC franchise. So that was the only issue that came up. Other than that, we had a review letter from your engineer. We've addressed it with a revised plan with notations, and I believe the engineer is satisfied. So I think we're good to go. So you're right, it's a conditional use because the use of automotive vehicle display storage is a conditional use in the highway commercial district. So that's the nature of the application.
Okay. All right, we'll go to comments and questions from board members first. Mr. Zipka?
Why don't you come back to me?
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think it's fairly straightforward what they're asking. Maybe I'll think of a question in a minute, but for now.
Mr. Dennis?
No, it is straightforward.
Yeah, I think, and I understand the Planning Commission's concern, as I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I do.
Mr. Murphy. And I guess my question is more for Mr. Clark. The addition of that recommendation that has legal binding. That's once they agree that they're not going to use it for a used car lot. That's if Peruzzi decides to sell that piece of property to somebody else and they have it, will that condition still stay with that property?
Yes, as you are granting conditional use approval tonight for this particular use by Peruzzi Family Limited Partnership, if you approve it. Within the next 30 days, a letter will go from Mr. Gray to Mr. Murphy and to Mr. Peruzzi, indicating the conditions of approval. That will go with the property, so it can't be used for any other. Can't be used contrary to what Mr. Murphy just indicated.
Okay. All right. That was my question, Mr. Zipka.
The one thing I'd like to say though is, over the years, everything that I have seen the Peruzzi group put their stamp on has done nothing but to improve the area. And the other smaller used car lots over the years, they had to clean themselves up just to compete with what the Peruzzi group is doing. I think it's a fine addition, but I'd just like to add one thing. Purple really isn't a color, it's a state of mind.
I wonder if that was the correct color of it anyway, but I couldn't think of anything close. Chartreuse.
Okay. Mr. Clark, any other comments from you?
Only, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Murphy, you have Mr. Sullivan's review letter of October 12th of 2010. And Mr. Baker's review letter from Traffic Planning and Design of October 20th, 2010, and you will comply with what's been listed in both of these review letters, correct?
I've never seen the October 20 TPD letter, but I have seen Mr. Sullivan's letter, and we've submitted a revised plan to address it. And I think Jim's satisfied with it, so.
Do you,
You can certainly have my copy of the TPD letter. I'm satisfied to the point where the conditional use can be approved. However, you're aware, Mr. Murphy, that you'll have to apply for and obtain an earth disturbance permit from the township for repaving after demolition is completed.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll give Mr. Murphy a chance to take a look at that traffic planning design letter.
Taking a quick look at it, it doesn't appear to be, the issues there, I think, are pretty similar to the issues Jim Sullivan raised in his review, so I don't think there's anything we can't address or haven't already addressed, frankly.
Okay. All right.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, heard from you. Right?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right, then, before we open for public comment, if there is any, we're going to have to close the conditional use hearing. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All right, seconded by Mr. Zipka. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, is there any public comment needed on this? No, I see none and hear none. All right, then, we're looking for an approval of the conditional use hearing. Just to, I guess, maybe, Mr. Clark, a simple motion. We don't have to address the specific issue that
No,
was...
'cause it's on the record.
It's on the
and
record.
been agreed
Okay.
to,
All
and-
right, so is there a motion then to approve the conditional use hearing for Peruzzi Family Limited Partnership, 165 Lincoln Highway?
So moved.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, item number 6 on our agenda is consider approving an ordinance amendment to Chapter 203, Article 2, Section 9, installing a new stop sign at T. Rose Lane and Thornridge Drive. Mr. Gray?
Yes, at the October 5th Board of Supervisors meeting, the board approved authorization to advertise an ordinance amendment to Chapter 203, Article 2, Section 9, stop intersections. At this time, the board is asked to consider approving this ordinance. In addition, if there's any additional questions, Jerry Baker from TPD is here as well.
Okay. All right, the issue of the stop sign is one we've dealt with for several months now. It was a safety issue, not necessarily a speeding issue, but a safety issue at that intersection. Our police officer, Mr. Trindle, Officer Trindle, who specializes in accidents and traffic safety, had a look at it, as did TPD. Both concluded that the intersection was not as safe as it should be, and that a stop sign was a very easy way to make sure that it got safer. And in order to put the stop sign there, it could be put there and was put there under emergency circumstances, but I think there was it 60 days or 90 days was the limit for how long you can have
90
it?
days.
90 days. And so now this would make it permanent, establishing that stop sign there permanently. Let's see, and as Mr. Gray said, Mr. Baker from Traffic Planning and Design, who did a lot of the work on this, is here this evening for any comments or questions, if the board has any. And this would be an ordinance, be 1006 if it's approved. Mr. Zipka, comments or questions?
No, let's pass it.
Okay, Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman. I think this is wise for safety.
Mr. Dents?
No comments or questions.
I have none. Is there any public comment needed? See none. All right, then is there a motion to approve ordinance 210-06?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 210-06.
2010, sorry.
Oh, 2010-06.
Sorry, my fault. Okay.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Zipka. He's faster than you this evening, Mr. Snipes.
All right.
All right. All right, then. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. All right, up to public comment. 8:15. Okay, Mr. Mariani, you're on here. Do you want to speak again? I see you standing up. I think that's a yes.
Mr. Snipes' cost analysis using his father's house as an example of geothermal installation, I think, was incomplete, because you really can't extrapolate that information to determine the cost on this building and the return on investment. But I'll give you a more complete illustration of an average house at 2,500 square feet. That's pretty close to what we have in Levittown. If you take a conventional fuel system cost, that's going to be about $12,000. The geothermal system installed, completely installed, would be about $27,500. which is fairly close to the number that you had. Then you take the 30% federal tax credit of $82.50, and that leaves a net system cost of $19,250. The difference between the geothermal and conventional system, $72.50, but the annual geothermal savings over a conventional system is $1,900 a year. That's a payback period of about 4.1 years. Over the life of that system, which would be about 25 years, homeowners are going to save about $47,000 or more. Now, to answer your other questions, Mr. Snipes, are there grants or rebates? There are plenty of them. The U.S. Department of Energy funds geothermal projects. Ball State University just got $5 million grant. Indiana Tech is just awarded $1.34 to install geothermal systems. The Department of Energy also has a 30% tax credit, and that means you deduct 30% off the cost of the operation, but there's no upper limit, provided that the system is in service by December 31st, 2016. The department also is distributing $350 million for geothermal energy. That's under the Stimulus Package Act by President Obama. Pennsylvania is also in the program. The Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, Pennsylvania Renewable Energy Program has a maximum grant of $1 million. Pennsylvania Alternate and Clean Energy Program, $2 million grant, that's with matching funds. The Pennsylvania Energy Development Authority also has grants, and they're financing right now Scranton's Maywood University. So there are a lot of programs. But a couple quick facts about geothermal, which is my favorite subject. New York University study just report that geothermal has surpassed wind as the most efficient alternate energy technology. It includes data from the United States Department of Energy on the cost of a kilowatt hour. Geothermal, 3.1 cents to 8 cents. Wind, 4.3 cents to 5.5 cents. Solar, 11 cents to 31 cents per kilowatt hour. The growth rate of geothermal in 2009 was 26% in new projects. Fast-growing states, Utah, 400% increase, New Mexico, 300% increase, Idaho, 200%, Oregon, 50%, and the new projects go on and on. Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, and Wyoming, and hopefully Falls Township, Pennsylvania. Now, the employment, you talk about green jobs, this gets, anybody that's got any environmental sense about them, that gets your attention. Estimated at 29,750 permanent jobs. These are not temporary jobs, these are permanent jobs as a result of this kind of activity. These projects under development is a capital investment of $35 billion. Geothermal, it's a wealth-producing system. It's not a wealth-consuming system. Finally, while I recognize Mr. Gray's competence in managing our township's affairs, like that, Mr. Gray, I do think you're a competent person.
I think that was a compliment.
But I don't think he and his financial wizards, as Mr. Snipes calls them, have the expertise to furnish a plenary cost analysis on geothermal installation and the return that we can expect on that investment. So I'm not here asking you to vote on this tonight. We can do that at the next meeting. But I can't think of any legitimate reason why this study really shouldn't be pursued. I'd appreciate it if you would at least look at that. You got the money to do other studies, pavements, and so on and so forth. We can include a study here with experts.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to comment on Mr. Mariani.
Yeah.
I mean, we have $35,000, I think, in the budget this year to do a study to renovate this building. And geothermal is something that we could certainly add in to look at when we do that study, which we probably should do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't specifically think anyone assumed that Mr. Gray would be able to do, I think, I know Mr. Snipes talked about doing a study, I think more of finances, not so much of geothermal energy on the part of Mr. Gray. I don't think we ever, I don't think, yeah, all right, yeah, I don't think, yeah, everybody ever assumed that Mr. Gray would be going out to take, soil temperatures and things, of that nature. All right, so, all right, Mr. Kinney, you're up.
In Kenny Falls Township. In 5 days, 47 years ago, we lost one of our greatest presidents, John F. Kennedy. And people see me wear this hat, they ask me if I was a policeman of Philadelphia. No, I was a fireman down in Philly, but this house, this hat, the number 4699, that belonged to Danny Faulkner. He was killed 30 years ago this month by a scumbag that snuck up behind him while he sat in his car writing a ticket out and shot him in the back of his head. And they put him on death row, and he's still on death row. I don't know when this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania will wise up. You take an officer's life, you should give up your own. Now there's another one, says he's sorry, so they give him life. Life don't cut it. These guys, when they get in prison for life, they become shrines. They're heroes. They're in there, they get anything they want. And the guards can't do nothing about it, because the guards will give them anything they want, because they'll get bumped off. These are nothing but cowards and scums. You take an officer or a fireman's life, you should give up your own. And I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving after all that. And God bless you all. Good night.
Okay. All right, thank you. Those are all the names I had on the list. I don't know if there's anybody else that's interested in speaking. I see no hands. Okay. All right, move forward with the agenda. We have 2 sets of minutes to look at this evening. For October 19th, these minutes were not accepted at our last meeting. Mr. Zupka, I believe, because you were absent for this particular meeting, you're going to abstain, I'm assuming?
Yep.
Okay, and I think you did last time, too. And so looking specifically at the minutes for October 19th, 2010, comments or questions? Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Dents?
No, none.
And I have none. And don't imagine there's any public comment on this. Is there a motion to accept the October 19th minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay. All right. So the next minutes are for November 3rd, 2010. Comments or questions regarding the minutes as presented? Mr. Zupka?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
No, excellent minutes as usual, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
No.
And I have none. Okay. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented for November 3rd, 2010?
So moved.
Motion made. I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions?
I abstain.
All right, then the minutes fail to pass. Okay. All right, so perhaps next month we'll come back to those. All right. Okay.
Technically, in light of the fact that the minutes may never pass, and we need an official record of the minutes, technically, Mr. Dents, while he did not attend, he can vote in favor of making these the official minutes. He is not vouching for everything in them.
Right.
He is vouching for the fact that the, excuse me, the secretary has produced minutes which now become the official minutes of the township. So I would suggest that at our meeting in December, if the member who is absent this evening does not vote to approve the minutes, that it would be appropriate for Mr. Dents to vote to approve it at that time.
Yeah, my recommendation was going to be Mr. Dents to have Mr. Dents take a look at the videotape of the meeting. He then would be able to take a look at the minutes and verify.
I will
What
before
we've
the next
done in the
meeting.
past.
Yeah, so, okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the engineer's report. which is dated November 12th. It is the October 2010 engineering report. And I'll turn to Mr. Sullivan to see what kind of comments he has.
I guess the only comment I have, Mr. Chairman, is that the 2010 road program has run into a snag due to some utility conflicts with gas services and gas mains throughout the neighborhood. While our contractor was installing our storm pipe, they ran into a series of gas services in Alden Avenue. We then went out and did some test holes to see if there was kind of the same problems on Stevens, Berwyn, and the other streets, and that is going to be the case. So we contacted PECO. They've hired their contractor, a company called Danella, and they intend to start lowering the gas service lines in Alden Avenue this Friday. Once that is done, JDM will then remobilize to the site and once again start installing storm sewer pipes on Alden Avenue, while PECO will then move on to Stevens Road, and JDM will follow them around the neighborhood. So that's certainly going to slow down the progress of the road program. This work is weather dependent, but not so much as a paving would be. So provided we have reasonable weather throughout the winter, both contractors intend to keep working as long as they can.
Okay. Was there any way in the planning process to identify the fact that these are basically, for lack of a better term, I guess the laterals that are coming to the individual houses that are too high?
That is correct.
All right. Was there any way to see that in any of the planning?
Normally, the mark out's done by what's called the PA1 call system. They mark out the gas mains, and those were behind the curb, so weren't even in the street. They don't mark out the gas service lines. And the way we found the first one was JDM hit it, immediately had to call the gas company to shut off the gas. So we then asked them to come back out and try to find the mains, or the service lines, which they did, and that's where we are right now.
Okay. All right. All right. So obviously disappointing, but a problem it's on its way to getting solved. Any other highlights you want to point out from the engineer's report?
Challenger Field, the surface was reinstalled and it seems to be great. It's much better than the first time it was done. The boat ramp is under construction. Most of the work on the land is progressing well, and they've started to work in the water with some of the dredging activities.
Okay. All right. All right. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Zipka?
Just to go back to the gas lines, how long of a stretch through the whole road has to be reworked for to lower the lines? Or?
For the most part, all of the gas service lines are in the way.
Okay.
When we have smaller pipes, if they're a little bit lower, we can get around them. But if we have a 24-inch pipe, which most of our pipes are, these service lines are 27 inches below grade, and we run right into them.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Okay, and I have none. Comments or questions for the engineer? See no hands? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the engineer's report, which is dated November 12th, 2010?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the bill list for November 16th, 2010 is in the amount of $1,645,788.13. So again, $1.6 million, and of that $1.6 million, $1.1 million is payroll and health insurance. So it leaves roughly $500,000. Some of that goes to things such as traffic signal repair, which is about $18,000 to that. There's some other larger items in here. $23,000 for the Challenger Field, $144,000 for the boat ramp, $81,000 for the road program. We spent about twice as much money on street lights as we did on legal fees this month, which is always a good thing. Yeah. And there was one more item in here I'd taken a look at. And quite a lot of this also is reimbursables, which is not taxpayer money, but money that is put up by developers, roughly $21,000. So comments or questions on the bill list for Mr. Gray? Mr. Zipka?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
None.
And I have none. Okay, don't imagine any public comment needed. See no hands. Is there a motion to approve the bill list in the amount of $1,645,788.13?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
No.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
All right, executive session, don't believe we have one, or need of one, so we're up to manager comment. Mr. Gray?
Yes, just two items tonight. First item, I have a letter from Carolyn Edwards representing CVA. They have a preliminary final land development plan for review. They are requesting extension of time on this project until January 17, 2011. At this time, the board is asked to consider this extension.
Okay. Comments or questions regarding the letter of extension?
No.
No?
None.
Okay. Is there a motion then to approve letter of extension for CVA to January 17th, 2011?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
My next item, I have a letter from Richard Lemanowitz representing Liberty Towers located at 9188 New Falls Road. They also are requesting an extension of time on their project until January 31st, 2011. At this time, the board is asked to consider this extension as well.
Okay. Comments or questions regarding the letter of extension for Liberty Towers? Mr. Zupka?
No.
No? Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
Do you know what project this is? Is this the one on New Falls Road?
Yes, 9188.
And this was just denied by the zoning hearing board, I think, just last week, correct?
That is correct. And under, I can't imagine under any set of circumstances, even if they appeal to the Bucks County Court of Common Pleas, there is no way that they would be ready by this date in January. So instead of having to have this matter come back repeatedly, Mr. Lemanowitz may want to grant us a much longer extension, or it may be my advice to actually schedule the hearing before January 31st of 2011. He can't get approval from you because he has not met one of the threshold issues, which is zoning approval, so he would fail. So it probably makes sense for us to talk to Mr. Lemanowitz about a much longer extension so Mr. Gray doesn't have to be tracking this every 30 to 60 days.
When is the extension of this project? Do we know? Is it?
There is no.
Oh, well, I mean, right now, I mean, it does have a.
Right now, it's dead in the water, right?
Well, no, we have to hear it.
Well, technically, we don't, because he can't come before you right now because he has not met one of the threshold issues.
Okay.
So he doesn't have the right to be heard. But in the interest of sort of being very careful in this, we would probably want him to grant us a longer period of time extension or toll it until he'll grant us an extension where it'll be tolled for 60 days after final decision is made on the zoning hearing application. But we'll contact Mr. Lemanowitz and work out those details.
So is there any go ahead, Mr. Sullivan?
I'm not positive, but I think this would actually expire prior to the December 7th meeting, which is why we have this letter of extension for this evening.
All right. So act on this evening and then look for another letter of extension later on.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right then. We'll take that. We'll take that course and ask that our solicitor be in contact with him and find out how cooperative he's going to be in terms of this project. So granting a letter of extension to January 31st, 2011 for Liberty Towers LLC. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
That's all I have.
That's all? No Otto the Clown?
Not tonight, no.
Breakfast with bunnies, that's over.
No, those announcements will be at the next meeting.
Okay. All right. All right. Up to board comment. We'll start with Mr. Zupka.
Thank you. We've just passed Veterans Day today in Washington, and you have to forgive me. I just remember Staff Sergeant, and my mind goes blank. But Jeanette, I think, possibly. But he received the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's the first time in close to 300 years, I believe, or 320 years. It's the Congressional Medal of Honor has been given out to a living person. So it's soldier, and the fella is very modest about it. He really didn't want to accept it in the beginning. I listened to some of the interviews, but he probably is one of the better examples of the people that are out there protecting us, even though he said he's a mediocre soldier at best. We're going in. Along with that, we're going into Thanksgiving, so keep in mind all our people that are in the military, whether they're here in this country or they're away. They're giving up their time, their lives with their families to protect us, to keep our way of life, and as much as in our own country, we always don't get along, and all these fellows are allowing us to have this way of life. And you have to remember, freedom isn't really free. It is a costly it's a costly endeavor. And again, just say, well, I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I always say, be with your families. Enjoy the times you have together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dents?
I have no comment tonight.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Do you want to do this? Are you going to do that? That's fine. Yeah. Just one invitation. Excuse me. I know all board members have received to attend the annual tree lighting ceremony at Three Arches, but of course it's open to the public. That's the point of it. But we're being invited to be there and be a presence and support them, and any of us who want to make a few comments. That's on December 11th at 6:30 p.m. And if you haven't been to the tree lighting at Three Arches, it's a wonderful experience to see the tree go on and to be able to tour the beautiful house there. So that should be something that members of the community know they're invited to, and we as the board are invited to that as well. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to echo Mr. Zupka's comments about Thanksgiving, and also, had Veterans Day in between our two meetings, and we made some comments at the last meeting. Mr. Mariani actually was the one who brought up first about thanking those people who serve now and have served in the armed forces to protect this country. And I don't think Mr. Zupka could have said it better, and certainly I don't think anybody else could have said it better. That it's easy for us to, sit around and watch football and have the kind of meals that that make Thanksgiving what it is. But we do also have to think about those that don't have as much, especially because they're choosing to protect this country, whether here in the United States or overseas, and also keep in mind those people who are suffering economically. This is obviously hopefully beginning to come out of a pretty serious downturn in our economy, but things are still tough on a lot of people. And so if you have a little bit extra, I know there are a lot of places around, local churches and charities that are always looking for donations of anything you can give. A single can of something is going to be welcomed. And so keep that in mind maybe as well to help everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Want to also, we had, I think, Mr. Snipes brought up, or somebody brought up previously, Pennsbury Manor was looking for some financial assistance with their Holly Nights, which is their annual event, sort of a colonial Christmas. Get a chance to sort of go back in time and see the way things used to be. If you're lucky, you'll be there and see Mr. Kinney, and he'll show you. He'll be showing you around. But Holly Nights are December 9th and 10th. And run from 5:30 to 9. Admission $10 for adults, $8 for senior citizens. Children 3 to 17 are $5. Children under 3 are free. You actually can go onto their website, pensburymanor.org, and download a $1 off coupon for adult admission. But they were looking for some assistance from the township to help them out this year. And having some discussion just with some of the board members. I wanted to know if a contribution of $2,500 to Pensbury Manor would be acceptable, and if so, then we can have a motion to that effect, or if we want to have some discussion, certainly welcome any discussion on it.
I think it's a wonderful expression of our support for Pensbury Manor. Although it's a state institution, we know the state has, like everyone else, is in serious economic trouble, and Pensbury Manor has had to cut back a lot. A number of staff have been let go, and I think this would be a wonderful Christmas gift to them to be able to support them in this wonderful community event they do. So I would certainly support the $2,500.
Okay.
I know they'll be glad to receive it.
I agree.
All right, any other comments or questions?
I'll support it.
Is there a motion to that effect then?
Yes, I would make a motion that we approve a donation of $2,500 to Pensbury Manor for use for their Holly Nights on December 9th and 10th.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. I'll match as any public comment. Yeah. Almost got out of here early. Go ahead, Mr. Kinney. Motion to open public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I think Pensbury Manor will allow me to say this. On behalf of the Pensbury Manor staff, we appreciate that very, very much. They, like you said, we lost a lot of staff over there. And these people who are on the books, they're working double time. And like they say, thank God for us volunteers. We make that place go. And if you get a chance, come out and see it. Holly Night is probably one of the prettiest nights you'll ever get. Nothing's electric, everything's candlelight. You'll enjoy it. They might even have some food and drink there. Never know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
It says free hot mulled cider right on the flyer.
Is there okay, motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, then we have a motion and a second to give a donation of $2,500 to Pensbury Manor. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Sepka?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. And lastly, just want to remind people the weather has been somewhat nice still. We're getting a good break in terms of the temperatures being mild, but of course the clocks have gone back, and so it's getting darker earlier. So just a reminder to be safe out there when you're driving. You're still going to have kids out in the streets when the weather's nice, and again, getting a little harder to see them now that the sun's down earlier. So with that, I thank everybody and wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. Staff and professionals here included for all the hard work they do. Everybody's deserved it, certainly. Is there a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
The chairman has adjourned this meeting of the Falls Township Board of Supervisors for November 16th, 2010. This program is pre-recorded in its entirety for playback at this time. This is the Falls Township Governmental Access Channel 22 on Comcast and 40 on Verizon.